Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Finally, I don't even know what episode number this would be. It's been a minute. This is Hanging with Deez. And if you are watching through the Eldonzo and Deez channel, whether it be on Facebook or on our YouTube, this is something different. Um, Back when we started the Eldonzo and Deez show, it was just a podcast on Spotify. And then, so I decided to start a sports pop culture show myself called Hangin with Deez. And now that we got the YouTube channel up and running, I thought that this would be a good time to bring it back. Plus, as you can see, it is almost football season, and that's pretty much what we specialized in. So anytime you see on our YouTube, I'll always preface a Hanging with Deez video with like HWD, just so you know which is which. And if you haven't seen anything from the Eldonzo and Deez and you're from the Hanging with Deez side, I encourage you to check out Eldonzo and Deez at Eldonzo Deez on Twitter, facebook.com/Eldonzo Deez, and of course the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Eldonzo Deez. With that being said, we got a little bit to talk about with some running backs and what's going on in training camp and things of that nature. And if you're wondering where Dylan is, my previous co-host, he has decided that he didn't want to come back, and that's fine. He's family, so we'll let him slide with that. But anytime he wants to come back, by all means, I would be more than happy to bring him on, especially when college football season kicks off, so I can give him shit about his Michigan Wolverines. But instead, I have now brought on a new co-host, and he's a Cowboys fan, so nobody's perfect, but it should lead to some pretty good conversations. So with that being said, here is our new co-host, Bubba J.
Hey, how we
How's
doing,
it going,
everybody?
man?
I'm good.
Good. So just real quick, for the people that may have listened to this shit show before, give us a little background on yourself as far as who you like and what you do for fun and all that good shit.
Oh, like you said, I'm a Cowboys fan. Um, so we've been hurting for quite a while, but Dallas Nation, we're loyal.
That is one
Doesn't
thing,
matter.
you know. I
Doesn't
mean,
matter.
and with the Steelers as well, you can look back all the teams that basically dominated back when our parents were alive. You know, like that's how I became a Steeler fan. Living in Central Illinois, everybody always asks why I'm a Steeler fan, and it's simply because my dad's been a Steeler fan since 1969. So that's the only team I've ever followed. But back then you had the Packers, you had the Cowboys, Steelers, and 49ers. And I think that's why looking, and then now, of course, New England. But I think if you look at a lot of people in our generation, you'll see that those four fan bases with I would say you could probably mix in a little bit of Green Bay with Brett Favre and everything, but especially where we live. But it seems like those four teams are a lot more prominent within our generation as far as people that like a team that isn't in their backyard.
Right.
And for my Illinois people, if you're wondering why I'm not a Bear fan, again, there was the dad thing. But in all honesty, the 1985 Chicago Bears, really, even though I was only 10 years old, it stuck in my memory that they got to the Super Bowl and they win the damn thing. But during the course of which they get on the goal line and they hand the ball off to that fat tub of shit. No offense to William Perry, but it really bothered me that they didn't give the ball to the man that carried that franchise on his back for a decade before finally getting them to the Super Bowl. Of course, I'm talking about Walter Payton.
Right.
And that
Sweetness.
just always, yeah, sweetness. That always kind of bothered me a little bit. And so now I take pride in their failures as well as the other team. I wouldn't say I hate the Bears because they've not been good enough to even really spend a lot of time on recently.
Right.
But yeah, the teams that I have a stronger dislike than most would be Raiders, Patriots, Cowboys, and then of course my division teams and the Chicago Bears. So anyway, so here we are. It is August 15th. We are, I would say, a good halfway through, maybe a little more than half as far as training camps go, but the preseason just kicked off. Obviously, we had the Hall of Fame game and week one of the preseason. So everybody, we're in the thick of it. And I'm going to start with my squad first. I'm excited as hell for what this Pittsburgh team can do. Um, they've got so many weapons. And it all, as far as I'm concerned, and I think most of Steeler Nation will agree that most of this season hinges on how good Matt Canada can call plays with that offense and those weapons. And I'm cautiously optimistic. If Kenny Pickett, who looked great in the one series that he played the other night, if he can take that next step up, from being a rookie to now he's had a whole off season to learn everything and study everything and get to know his teammates a little better because again, he was thrown in week, I think it was 4 or 5 last year against the Jets, which a game, don't even get me started on that, but I'm super excited. So many weapons, and you bring in a guy like Allen Robinson to that wide receiver room, who is a great veteran presence to all of those young guys. When you think of it, before Allen Robinson got there, the old man in the receiver room was Deontay Johnson.
Yep.
And he's only I think he's going into his 5th year, maybe. And so to bring a guy like Allen Robinson in, who's been around the league and can help guide those guys, and then George Pickens is just all through training camp. And of course, we saw it again in the preseason game. I think George Pickens is going to be unstoppable because he catches anything close to him. It's the only thing I worry about with George Pickens is he plays with that chip on his shoulder. And I could see him because he got into a couple fights when he was at Georgia. He don't take too much shit from people. So I hope that he can get on the straight and narrow with that, as opposed to going off the deep end. And then we got to deal with another. Well, I don't think it'll be quite an Antonio Brown situation, but
oh God, I'd hope not.
Yeah, no, I don't think
the NFL can't survive another AB.
Right, that dude is batshit crazy. So that's my thoughts on what we have with the Steelers thus far. And again, as we get on with week by week through the season, we'll go a little more in depth on stuff like that. But Bubba, what do you got to say? What have you seen? What have you read about your boys this year? How are you looking at it?
Well, like any other Cowboy fan, it's our year, man. It really is.
We them boys. We them boys.
If you look on paper, we have one of the best teams in the NFL, if not the best team, as far as stats and defense and weapons. I mean, we're not loaded, but we have no reason we couldn't win multiple playoff games.
Right.
I mean, you get rid of the fat. You drop a couple offensive linemen that are cost you a bunch of money. You get rid of Zeke, which I'm a loyal Cowboy fan, but as soon as you paid him, he quit working. And it really drove me nuts to see a guy who could put up 2,000 yards a season go to 800 yards a season, over 6 yards a carry to 3 yards a carry. It's bad.
He's been banged up a little bit the last couple of years, right? If I'm not mistaken.
A little bit, but nothing that sidelined him for weeks on end. His ailments and stuff like that. But I think we paid him too soon. I really do. And that gave Tony Pollard a chance to shine, and he did. I'm excited about Tony Pollard. We drafted Deuce Vaughn, who I'm really excited to see. He looked amazing, making 2 Jaguars collide together, and he's elusive. He's only how big is guy, yeah. He's 5'7", 176 pounds, 5'6", 176.
Yeah, I saw the one highlight where they handed him the ball. He goes into the offensive line and he just
disappears.
And then he squirts out the other side and picked up, 20, 25 yards. He's the guy. if you watch NFL Network, he's the guy that they had. His dad works for the Cowboys. He's one of the
Yeah,
senior scouts to
yeah.
the Cowboys.
He's the one that called him and said, "You're going to be drafted. You're going to come to
Yeah,
work with
yeah,
me tomorrow."
yeah. Come to work
Yeah,
with me on Monday. And I thought that
yeah,
even with it being the Cowboys, I thought that was a really cool moment, and
absolutely.
just something that I mean, look at how many or how few people actually go to the NFL, and to be
Right,
able to have a moment like that, I thought was really heartwarming. And hopefully someday he gets wise, and the Steelers hire him and brings his kid along. But
sure. Yeah, he looked. I mean, he looked good, man. We got 6 running backs on the roster at the moment. So of course they're not all going to stick around, but I really think Deuce is going to make the team. He'll definitely be on special teams, I think.
yeah, and
But
I mean, given he already had a good showing in preseason game 1. I think he's going to have, because of his dad working there, he'll probably, unless he totally shits the bed the next couple games,
yeah,
but he'll probably have a little bit longer leash
sure,
than the average guy. But
right,
for him to come out and perform well in that game, that's a big feather in his cap, and
right.
he'll be a nice compliment to Tony Pollard.
You will.
I guess as an outsider, I wonder if Tony Pollard can continue without Zeke there, because, up until the last, well, I would say year and a half to 2 years, teams mostly focused on Zeke. And I think that's what allowed Tony to do what he did. And now he's the guy. So it'll be real interesting to see how he performs in that role as far as being now the feature back.
I think he'll be fine. Like I said, we got 6 on the roster. That Rico Dowdle is, I mean, he's 6'2", 215, so he's not as big as Zeke, but I mean, he can still punch it. I mean,
Right. And speaking of Zeke, well, we saw yesterday that 2 of the dominoes fell, and that was being Zeke first, and then literally within a couple of hours, the
right.
Dalvin Cook news signed. But we'll start with Zeke. Zeke's going to New England on it's a one. Both of them signed 1-year deals, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, one
Zeke's
year
deal,
deal,
$6 million, I believe.
up to with incentives. Yeah, I think he signed a 3.5 or $4 million deal with incentives up to 6 million.
Right on. Which, I mean, if you're New England, that's a pretty good. That's a good contract. If he
That's a
comes in and
steal.
performs, yeah, if he performs, even if he hits those numbers at 6 million, and he goes for 1,200 yards and 8 to 12 tutties, that's a hell of a deal. But last year Ramondre Stevenson had a really good season. I think he had like 1,200 yards. So,
Right.
if
Well,
they can,
he's clearly the number 2 in New England. Clearly, especially off his last few seasons. But new haircut, new number, new team, new conference, new division. I mean, everything.
yeah,
We'll
and
we'll see. I mean,
Belichick don't put up with any bullshit.
no, we
So,
don't.
like, he will. You know, I've always hated like drafting running backs from New England
Sure.
because of the way Belichick runs his offense. Like one week, this running back gets 30 touches and
Oh
3
yeah.
touchdowns, and then the
He
next week he doesn't get on the goddamn field. It's like,
right. He'll
what are
have
we
5
doing?
running backs on purpose.
Yeah,
You know, they'll
and
each play 3
Stevenson,
games, and that's
yeah,
that's how he
2
runs it.
years ago, Stevenson was one of those guys that was, spot duty type stuff. And then last year he was more of the feature back. So as long as Zeke can stay healthy and happy, I think they could have a good 1-2 punch there to take a little bit of pressure off of Mac Jones. Because as much as I hate to admit it, New England does still have a good defense.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
sold on Mac Jones, but if
No,
they can
he's
protect
got
him
a
with the
heavy.
running game.
He's got a really thick running back room too. They got 7 on their roster. So
Wow.
it's you got Ty Montgomery, Pierce Strong, Kevin Harris, J.J. Taylor, C.J. Marble, and then Ramondre Stevens.
I
So
forgot about Ty Montgomery. He's a plug and play back too, as far as he
right,
can.
he's
He's
definitely a
obviously
third
very
third
good at
down back for sure.
Yeah, very good at catching balls because he started as a wide receiver and basically switched to running back out of necessity, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Wasn't he with Green Bay when their backs went down, so they moved
Yeah.
Montgomery inside or to the backfield, and he
Yep.
did well. So now he just kind of took over that kind of a Darren Sproles kind of role,
Right.
a little bit bigger than Sproles, obviously, but
Yeah.
still should. I think they're going to be decent. The only problem is they, much like the entire AFC, is they play in a brutal division.
Right.
More so now that the second part of this story, and that is the Dalvin Cook signing going to, which was widely speculated that he was going to the Jets. But then there was a report that they couldn't really agree on his role. So
Right.
everybody thought, oh, well, then he's going to go back to Florida and play for Miami or
Sure.
maybe
He didn't
Indy.
want to be a number two. He wanted to go in and slide in to be a starter. And I know he was trying to get paid as a starter,
Right.
but no one was willing to fork out that type of money. And as soon as Zeke signed for 6, the Jets kind of looked, hey man,
Yeah.
we got our starters still on PUP. We're not sure when he's going to come back. Let's go ahead and get this done. Get you in here for a year. See how you do. This is what we think you can do to help our team. I don't know if they tricked him into signing or if him and his agent kind of talked and realized that, hey, you're not going to get this double-digit money you're trying to look for in a 1 or 2 year deal.
No.
Let's get the best one you can. And then the very next day, or I think it was the same day, they released Michael Carter off of the PUP and he's back in practice.
No, Brees Hall.
Brees Hall. Sorry, yeah, my fault.
Same day, literally a few hours after he signed, because it was yesterday, and
Right.
they got him activated off the PUP, and if done right, and they can get it together, and both of them can stay happy and healthy, man, what an offense they've put together there.
Right. It's they definitely built a win now program.
Yeah. The only issue that they have, and it's a huge one, is that their offensive line is very unstable.
It is. It very is.
Go back to
they
brought in Zach. Yeah, they brought in Zach Banner, who was literally a practice squad guy that the Steelers, turned into a starting tackle, got hurt in his first start, literally tore everything in his knee. I believe it was his right knee. And then he's been out of football for 2.5 years now, and he's just now back healthy. And I know that the Jets were bringing him in for a workout. So they are desperate for tackle help right now.
Sure.
So you can have all the weapons in the world. You can have, Aaron Rodgers and Alan Lazard and God, what's the young receiver? He was a stud last year, damn near won Rookie of the Year.
Oh, Sauce Garner.
No, he's a corner. He's on defense. God, what is his name?
I'll pull it up here. You got Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson.
That's it, Garrett Wilson. Wilson.
They got Randall Cobb too. I forgot about Cobb.
Yeah. Yep.
They got McCall Hardman from Kansas City.
Yeah, they are loaded.
They've got weapons.
Loaded. But again, can they keep Aaron Rodgers upright to get those guys the ball? Now, I would think that when you have that many weapons, especially two solid one great running back, we know Brees Hall looked like he was the real deal before he got hurt last year.
I put all my fantasy teams in his hands last year, and he let me down. I loved him in college. I was really excited. I watched him in training camp last year. I was really, really hoping he was going to be something. And that injury hurt me big time.
Yeah.
Throwing all my chips in on a rookie was probably my first mistake anyway. But he looked good. He really did. He looked really good. And I was excited for Zach Wilson. my wife's a Jets fan, so I kind of followed them a little bit.
Oh, that
They
poor woman.
she's from New York and she couldn't stand the Giants, so I guess the next best thing.
Yeah, she has been through a lot of pain in her life.
She has been through a lot of pain.
But
But
hey, things are looking up, right?
I'm not going to hear the end of it if they go further than the Cowboys this year, and I won't
Oh,
hear the end of
yeah.
it for years.
So that
You
was the other thing I was
remember?
going to ask you. What are your thoughts? Because it seems that with most of the Cowboy fans that I encounter, there's two sides of the fence. There's no middle road that I have seen. It's either you love him or you hate him. I'm talking about Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott. Yeah. Um, I'll put myself in the middle, but I'm more leaning towards love him. He's a
Yeah,
great quarterback. He's a great quarterback. Um, he's got everything you want in a quarterback. He's a leader. He can talk. You know, he's really good post game interviews. He's really good at hyping his guys up. He listens. He does all the right things. He just makes a lot of on the field mistakes. Putting the ball in coverage where he shouldn't be putting the ball, trying to make a play when he should just check down or throw it away.
yeah.
Um, you know, he ran the ball a lot at Mississippi State. Why isn't he running now? He needs to run the ball more. I don't know if that's a design flaw in the offense with Kellen Moore. Maybe that'll go away now that McCarthy's calling the shots. Or is that just him not trusting himself? Is it him wanting to be the new era quarterback of throwing the ball, not just really wanting to be that, you know,
Well, do you think it has anything to do with the injury? That maybe wants
after
to
his injury, yes, for sure, absolutely. I know they put the brakes on him after that, 100%. But
right.
even before that, he scrambled some, but not like I thought he was going to.
Yeah.
I didn't expect him to be a Michael Vick. Running any if his first look wasn't open, you just run the ball. I definitely wasn't expecting him to do that, but I love him. I do. I don't hate him. I'm glad they got rid of Zeke and not Dak. If they had to pick between the two, because I really think they were thinking about it. But Jerry Jones loves his quarterbacks. He thinks anybody he drafts is going to be the next
Oh yeah.
Bach and Troy Aikman. That's just how he is. So I had a feeling that Dak was going to stick around, and I'm glad he did. I just hope the turnovers can go away. He can make a little bit better decisions. They didn't put too many weapons around him. I mean, you got
Who do you
CD Lamb,
have?
of course.
Yeah. Who else is in that receiver room?
Well, they kept Michael Gallup, and we picked up Brandon Cooks.
Cooks. Okay. Yeah. I knew you guys signed somebody. I couldn't remember who.
Yep.
He's a guy. I mean, he can be a stud. It's just he's got to stay healthy, and
Right.
I think he can flourish in that role opposite of a guy like CD Lamb who can stretch the field. And Cooks
Boy,
has
Cooks
wheels
is
too.
he does, and he's never played. He's never been um, that go-to guy as far as the number one. He's always played second fiddle, so he's used to the role we're going to be putting him in anyway.
Right.
So he doesn't have like this big head where you got like a Antonio Brown or a Terrell Owens or something coming in and wanting to be the guy, and you got CD Lamb sitting right there going, "No, sir."
Yeah. See, I think Juju was a lot like that in that he was a great compliment because as after AB left and Juju became the number one, his
Right.
production really fell off. And then
Yeah.
when Deontay Johnson started to come into his own, it seemed like Juju kind of got back into that mold.
Right.
And now he's kind of lost in the mix. He got, I wouldn't say lost in the mix, but when you're on a team that's so loaded that KC was, he did his part, man.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how Juju is going to perform now. In as much as I hate it, uh, my girl is a huge Juju fan. Just
Right.
fell in love with him basically from his rookie year. So when he left, well, she knew that it was going to be his last year with us a couple years ago, and he gets hurt in week 5. I mean, she literally cried. And the day that I showed her the picture on my phone that the Steelers had activated him for going into the playoffs, like she was ecstatic. And I mean, I'll always love Juju because of that fact right there. Like he put his heart and soul into getting back for the playoffs. And I mean, we went up against KC, so I knew we didn't have much of a shot anyway. But I thought
Right.
that
Yeah,
was going to be a great
they're
story.
so
And then when he signed with New England this year, she just was absolutely devastated because she knows that through me, she hates New England, but she knows that I basically told her like, yeah, no, we're not watching any fucking Patriot games on my goddamn television unless they're playing
not unless they're
Pittsburgh.
playing
So,
the Steelers, right?
yep, I'll show you what website you can go to if you want to look up his stat line, but those colors aren't going to be on my TV.
No.
So
Yeah.
again, as we progress through training camp and injuries and signings and things like that, we'll obviously cover. And before the season starts, we will come on here and do a complete predictions like I've done for the last few years. We'll pick all of our choices for division winners, playoff teams, and Super Bowl champs. And last year, who did I have? Last year, I did not do well. I think I picked, in fact, I know I did. I picked Kansas City to actually finish last in their division.
What?
Yeah, I had a
What,
feeling,
you think
man. I
the
had
home's gonna get hurt or something? Because as long as that guy's healthy, they're nowhere near the bottom of
yeah,
that division.
I learned. Well, they lost Tyreek Hill. Um, their offensive line was kind of in shambles. I thought they're just not gonna. I think I still had them winning, 7 to 8 games, but I really thought the Raiders were gonna do something. I really thought the Broncos were gonna do something, and I thought
Yeah,
the
everybody
Chargers.
did.
Yeah, and they all kind of faltered. Chargers ended up being decent, but the Raiders and the Broncos were just absolute train wrecks.
Right.
But yeah, I sad to admit, but I picked KC to finish last. I did, however, pick the Eagles to be in the Super Bowl. I picked Buffalo to actually beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So,
That's who I picked too. I picked Buffalo to win it all.
yes, I picked the loser
Yeah.
correctly of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see the Eagles going. Again, I thought my Cowboys were going to be better than that, and I thought they were going to sneak out with the division win. I thought it was going to be a last week win though to make them division champs, but that didn't happen.
Yeah. Man, the AFC this year is just unbelievably bad. I mean, brutal.
Yeah, it's loaded.
You look at just like the two divisions that we got the East, where you got the Jets, who have to be the favorite now, Miami, Buffalo, and New England. Like literally, you could tell me that any of those teams would win the division, and you could make a case for it. New England, maybe not quite as much, but the other three, depending on what happens with the season, I could be convinced. And then on the
Yeah,
same side,
Miami has to stay healthy. If Miami has one big injury, they're done.
I agree. I
I don't think they
100%
have.
agree.
I don't think they have the depth anywhere to make a run if one of their big names gets hurt.
Yep.
Tua
No,
goes down again, they're done. I can't remember their running back.
didn't I want to say they signed somebody this year.
I can't
Was
remember.
it was it Edmonds or no? I have to look at their roster. I thought that they picked somebody up.
I can't remember. And that's exactly what. Well, they got Gaskin as their number one for sure.
Do they still have one of the running back or the Niner guys?
Mostert, yep.
Yeah.
Jeff Wilson.
Wilson, that's two of the Niners guys. Elijah Campbell.
Yeah. Mostert, Gaskin, Jeff Wilson Jr., Salvan Ahmed, Chris Brooks, and Devon Acme.
So
Akaney.
they're I mean, you got Gaskins and Jeff Wilson, I would have to imagine are going to be the 1-2 there. And neither one of them, while they're decent, I don't think either one of those guys are a, complete carry the load type.
Right.
I don't think either one of them are really going to be superstars. So I think a lot of it is going to hinge on Tua and can he stay healthy and can he continue to progress? A couple, man, those concussions looked really, really bad. So
Really bad.
people are really going to be watching him every time he gets hit and just scrutinizing his every move after a sack, like, trying
Absolutely.
to see if is he woozy, because there were reports coming out that he was going to retire, and he said no. I've never been on the uh, Tua is a guy wagon.
No.
I think he can be solid, but I just don't see him as a franchise type quarterback. I just don't see it with him. If you surround him with a bunch of weapons and a strong defense, yeah, they could make some noise. The problem is that they are now locked in a brutal AFC, and they're going to be fighting if anything for like a 7 seed at best, in my opinion.
Yeah, they got to surprise a lot of people to get anywhere. I mean,
Yeah, and then
you got three teams in the East that could be in the playoffs. You've got three teams in the North that could be in the playoffs. You've
potentially
got
4.
potentially if the Browns become something,
Yeah,
which
if
they could.
Deshaun Watson can
If
get
Deshaun
back to
Watson,
what he was and not,
right,
rub his wiener on a masseuse somewhere, then yeah, you could make a
yeah,
case because they've got a good defense. They've got one of, if not the best running back in the league.
right,
Their offensive line is solid. With that team, I mean, look, Brown's gonna Brown. So it just seems like they're always gonna find a way to fuck it up.
yep,
We didn't see a whole lot from Deshaun Watson last year, but he'd been out of football for damn near 2 years. So this is going to be the telltale season for him, and whether or not he's worth 230 million guaranteed. That is absolutely crazy. And
insane.
it's nice to see though that the other quarterbacks that have followed have kind of realize, yeah, no, that's fucking stupid that they did
Yeah,
that. And I think a lot of it was the owners was like, look, that guy is an
yeah.
idiot. We're not giving you that
We're
kind of
not paying you
guarantee.
that kind of money. No.
Yeah. We'll pay you a shitload of money, but a 200 plus fully guaranteed, no, get the fuck out of here. So that they've kind of dialed that back and reset the market a little bit. And I'm mad at Lamar Jackson for being the one that caved. Because man, I was so excited for during the off season where he was like, basically, fuck this place. I'm out of here if you don't give me my
Right.
guarantee. And then they go out and they sign Odell, and Lamar agrees. So yeah, the North is going to be brutal. The East is going to be brutal. The South is going to be a
The
joke.
South.
I mean, at this point,
Well, the
it's
Colts
got to be
got that rookie quarterback. They're throwing all their chips in on him. They just named him
I'm telling you
starter
what,
too.
I think Anthony Richardson is going to be a stud in the NFL. I think he's going to have a tough year this year, learning curve and everything. But
Yep.
athletically, I mean, 6'5", 250, runs like a 4.45, and
He's a
has
tight end playing
yeah,
quarterback.
and
He's
he
like a
has an
Byron Leftwich.
cannon of an arm.
Yep.
So if they put the right guys around him and the right coaching staff, which Shane Steichen, who came through the Eagles system, I think might be that guy when you think of what he did with Bryce, or not Bryce, Eagles quarterback.
Jalen.
Yes, Jalen Hurt. With what Steichen did with him, if he can do that with Anthony Richardson, he's going to be a guy. Like I was excited, thinking that we had a shot a couple years ago. I was like, oh, this guy's coming. Of course, we took Kenny Pickett, and the rest is
Sure.
history. But I personally feel like as far as this year's quarterback class coming in, I think 5 years down the road, we're going to look back and say that Anthony Richardson is the best out of that class. Could be wrong. It's happened before, as you know. This is also the dumbass that picked KC to finish
That's
last.
That's a bold statement. That's a bold statement.
But as far as the
It,
South, I mean, I think it's Jacksonville's to lose right now. Tennessee, I think, is gonna be close, but Jacksonville looked like they took that leap last year. And I think that Trevor Lawrence gets it now. Now, of course, they got Doug Peterson in there who's got a winning mindset as opposed to the absolute shit show that Ohio State, what's his name?
Urban Meyer.
Yeah, Urban Meyer. Yeah, that was just pure comedy. But and
I
then
don't
you
know. I
got
don't even know what he was thinking.
right, like how many times in your lifetime can you remember one of these dominant NFL coaches, or I'm sorry, college coaches, come to the NFL and actually have success, other than Pete Carroll? It doesn't
Jimmy
happen very
Johnson,
often. Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, but
a
hell,
long
that was
time ago.
30 years ago.
Yeah, but it just doesn't
You
happen.
look.
No.
No, Spurrier, Nick Saban. I mean, these are guys that literally all they did was win in college. But when you get to the pro, that's a whole different ball game. And I think
Right.
Urban Meyer found that out quickly and
Yeah,
just kind of lost.
it's a different league. I mean, it's same game, but it's completely
Yeah,
different.
these are grown ass men. These
Right.
aren't guys that are in fear for their job or their
Right.
position anymore. They're getting paid millions of dollars, and you think you're
Right.
going to come in here and treat me like a fucking 19-year-old? Not going to happen.
Right.
Oh, but yeah, like I said, Jacksonville's going to be tough. And then when on the flip side, you look at the NFC, the East is obviously going to be tough. I think that's going to be a heavily contested division, with the exception of Washington. I think they're still trying to get their bearings. But the other three teams
They don't even know
there,
what their name is.
right?
They,
Yeah,
they can't they can't figure out who owns them or what their name's going to be, or they got too many off the field things going on. That I mean, they got
did
all
you
kinds of on the field issues too.
Did you see that there's now a movement and a
Yes,
petition that, as of today, had over 90,000 signatures to
I was just awesome.
restore
I
the
saw,
name back to the Redskins?
and it should be. It was originally a tribute, an honor to this. I can't remember. No, I don't know the whole story, and I don't have it pulled up. But um, it
Yeah,
was
it
it
was.
was it was honoring this tribe and this chief that, and it was when they originally thought of the name and the design, they gave it to these people and said, "Hey, do you guys approve of this? How do you guys feel?" You know, and they were all for it. And now all of a sudden, you get this, you know, this topic we could talk about on your other show, this wokeism crap that
Yeah,
um, everybody's offended about everything. They took away the
absolutely.
Cleveland Indians. They took away Chief Lion I went from my fight in the Lion Eye. They took away the Redskins. When's it stop? Come on, we're not hurting anybody's feelings. If
Yep.
anything, it should be honored. They should be, hey, they named the team after us. They want us to be remembered. They want us to be honored and not forgotten. And you're just taking it away.
The whole Indians thing is absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
How is that offensive to anybody? And then on top of that, with what you said about honoring that chief, the guy who literally designed the Redskins logo was an
He
actual
wasn't
like
Native American.
descendant of that tribe. Like,
Right.
I think it's probably okay, but it's whatever. I'm not a fan of the name Commanders. I think they should, if they were gonna change it, they should have went with Warriors.
Or yeah, I mean, at least stay with the Native American theme, because you literally took the Redskins out, the Native American, and put a name in there that literally took away everything they had.
Yeah, my high
Our,
school was the Bloomington Purple Raiders, and our logo it looked a lot like the Redskins logo, but it was purple
sure.
and gold. And then when all of that stuff started, they erased it from existence, and now they're just the Raiders. Just, I mean, I don't know, something like that. I don't see how that's offensive. It's history,
It is.
We could go into, like I said, the other show, a whole diatribe about all the statues and bullshit that they've done. But So anyway, back to the original point. You got those three teams in the East that could all legitimately win enough games to win the division, and I think Washington's going to be hovering in that
Yep.
six to eight win category. And then out west, I think Seattle was. I think it was a fluke. While I was happy to see Geno finally kind of achieve what his potential was, I think they snuck up on a lot of people, and I just don't see them really making a lot of noise this year. I think that
No,
division is without question San Francisco's to lose. Um,
absolutely.
all depends on their quarterback situation. Sam Darnold has looked amazing in the one game that he played, but
Well,
uh,
he's an NFL starter. I mean, he's proven to be an NFL starter. There's no reason he couldn't start over there. No
yeah,
reason. I mean, you
Shanahan
got
did and say that Brock Purdy is the starter. And
right,
now here you are. You just wasted how many draft picks to get Trey Lance a couple years ago, which I thought was a mistake from the get
and
go.
he looked terrible
Yeah, yeah.
on
No,
in his reps. He
that's
looked
going to go
terrible.
down. That's going to go down as in my opinion, a Ryan Leaf esque move. Uh, I mean, the guy only played one season as a starter for North Dakota State.
Right,
Like, it'd be one thing if you played one season at an Alabama or an Ohio State, but you were playing basically Division II football. Granted,
right.
very
You were the
well,
best team.
but
You were the best team in that Division 2 for a
by
long
far,
time.
yeah,
Yeah,
by far. And now you're with real men, and he just I don't know. I don't see him really going anywhere. And then the
I don't either.
Rams, I could honestly go either way on the Rams. They've got talent, no doubt. Anytime if you got a healthy Matt Stafford and a healthy Cooper Cup, you still got Aaron Donald on defense. You could convince me that the Rams are only going to win 7 games, and you could also convince me that the Rams are going to win 12 or 13 games. That's like they could literally go either way. And then Arizona,
Stetson Bennett. That's all
yeah,
I
he
got.
looked
The
he
Rams.
looked really good.
He is a 40-year-old rookie. I mean, he, and he's good. He's good at what he does. He's a two-time national championship for the Georgia Bulldogs, and he knows football. He
Yeah,
is smart. He goes through his progressions. He throws the ball away. He doesn't take sacks. He gets the ball out quick. If Stafford hiccups or gets hurt, he's the guy. 100%.
the great thing, the story of Stetson Bennett is like he was a walk on. And they
Yeah.
literally, for his entire career there, they were trying to replace him, and he refused to give up the starting job
Right.
and leads them to national titles. Like he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's a proven winner. He's obviously got a maturity level because, like you said, I think his actual age, I think, is 28,
Yeah. Yeah.
27 or 28.
Yeah. It
But
just he gets that because everybody he walked on it such a couple years later than everybody else and had his
yeah.
eligibility for 4 years. But
Who was the guy that in fact, I think he won a natty as well for Florida State. Was it Heinke? Hein? Oh man, started with an H. But when he graduated, he was like 27 or 28. He was basically like Stetson Bennett, just an old man, and he never really. I think he actually got a chance to start, but he never really amounted to much in the NFL. But it was the
right.
same scenario. Like everybody thought, well, this guy is bringing a level of maturity that most rookies don't have, but he just didn't have that it factor and never really amounted to much. I want to even say, uh, was it the Redskins that he played for? Let's see. I'm gonna Google FSU old QB. See if that
I
comes
think
up.
it's
What the hell is Weinke? Chris Weinke.
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 Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he enrolled at Florida State at the age of 25 because he played baseball in the Toronto Blue Jays system.
Right.
and he won the Heisman, he won the Natty in 1999, and then he went to, let's see, the Panthers. That's who selected him. And
Okay.
while he wasn't atrocious, but he was just never like the guy that they thought he was going to be, and ended up getting replaced by or actually he replaced Jake Delhomme, but then it all kind of went to hell in a handbasket shortly thereafter. But yeah, I like Stetson Bennett. He reminds me a lot of Drew Brees in that he's got his head on right, even though he's a littler guy, but he's got a cannon for an arm. And
Oh, he's great.
if you've ever seen him with his shirt off, the dude's built like a brick shithouse
Yeah.
for only being what 6 foot nothing. And so it'll be interesting to see if Stafford goes down, what he can come in and do.
Yeah, he's 5'11", 190. He's almost exactly the same.
5'11". Wow.
I think Drew Brees is what, 5'10" and a half or 5'11".
I think Breeze was listed at 6 foot, but there's no way he was 6 foot.
No.
Funny side note.
I mean,
my high school quarterback that we went to state championship with, his name was Billy Dickin. He was the starter at Purdue right before Drew Brees came in.
oh wow.
Yeah, he was the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, and then when he graduated, the next man up was Drew Brees.
So Drew learned it all from him.
I guess he ended up Billy Dickin ended up playing. I think he played a few years in the AFL, the Arena Football League, but just never really amounted to much. He got hurt. His shoulder got hurt really bad, I believe, his senior year, and just lost all the zip on his ball and just never really recovered. So that's the NFC West. NFC South. You got the Saints. Derek Carr looked really strong in that game the other night.
I like Carr. He's a good quarterback. I don't think they let him do what he wanted to do in Oakland or Los Angeles, whatever one you want to call him now.
Especially after Gruden, after the Gruden shit, because Gruden loved Derek Carr, and I think that once Gruden went down, that was pretty much the end of the road. Because
I think that's why Carr went there. I don't think he would have went there if Gruden wasn't there.
I agree. Yeah, who drafted him? That was the Raiders, right?
Carr was drafted by Houston.
No, you're thinking of his brother. David Carr played for Houston.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah. David Carr played. I think the Raiders did draft him, but I'm pretty sure that Gruden had a big hand in that, or maybe that's why Gruden, when he decided to go back to coaching, he might have went there because of his love affair for Derek. Oh, my boy Jake, who will also be on this show from time to time. He's another big baseball guy and a Bear fan. I just now seen your comment, Jake. I don't know if you're still there, but yeah, he's commenting on Facebook, Chris Weinke. So he was helping us out and tell us who the hell we were trying to think of. But then Carolina, CJ Stroud didn't look good in limited action. I'm not sold on him at all.
Me neither.
We used to talk about on the previous iteration of the show about how no quarterbacks from Ohio State or Alabama ever really seemed to do a whole lot. And I just don't see CJ Stroud breaking that mold. Bryce Young, I think he's going to have moments, but I see him as another Kyler Murray. I think he's just too damn small. And these big boys are gonna fuck him up before it's all said and done. And then who else is in the South? Atlanta. I don't see anything coming out of that. And then
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Tampa. Baker looked decent against the Steelers the other night. But to our defense, we had. I think we only had like maybe 2 or 3 starters that played any kind of significant minutes. Baker Mayfield's in that battle right now with Kyle Trask. Baker started this week. I believe Kyle Trask is slated to start for them this weekend coming up, and then they'll probably make a decision on that. But I mean, just what I saw, because Trask did play, but from what I saw, my opinion right now, the job is Baker's to lose. We'll see what
Sure.
Trask does, in this next game. And then let's see, we covered the West, we covered the East. Oh, duh, NFC North. Sorry, Jake. Jordan Love looked good in his game the other night.
He surprised
And
me.
yeah, there can be a lot said for having the weight of Aaron Rodgers lifted off your shoulders,
Right.
and maybe he's a little more carefree now, and he's going to be the guy. They've still got the thing with the Packers is now that Aaron is gone, they have to get back to their roots, and that is go back to being a running team, because you've
And
got a
man,
stud.
they looked like they went straight to that. Their running backs looked amazing. That Emmanuel Wilson ran all over the field
Yeah,
in that
yeah, and I
preseason
don't
game.
think Aaron Jones even played, did he?
No. Well,
Yeah,
I don't
if he
think he
did, it
did.
wasn't very long.
Series. Yeah.
So I think if they get back to that, they can, they can make some noise. But looking at the rest of the division, I gotta think that it's going to be a 2-horse race between Minnesota. I can't believe I'm about to say this sentence. It's going to be a 2-horse race between Minnesota and the Detroit Lions. I love what Dan Campbell is doing there.
Oh, absolutely.
I while I don't think Goff is, an elite superstar level QB, he's got weapons around him, and now they got Jahmyr Gibbs that's going to be there. Their defense, they made some. I think they got Jack Campbell from Iowa, who has just been an absolute stud in camp from all reports I'm seeing. So I think it's going to be Minnesota and Detroit, and then I think Green Bay is going to be knocking on the door, and then Chicago. Sorry, Jake, is going to be Chicago. I don't see them really doing a whole lot, although to this.
Oh, they got DJ Moore.
Yeah, he did. He caught like a 60-some yard pass on his first
Well, he
touch.
caught a 2-yard pass and then turned it into a massive touchdown. Doing what DJ Moore does.
I do think Justin Fields took a very big step forward. So maybe Justin Fields will be the one to break the Ohio State mold. I still think they need to get him more weapons. Regardless of all that, I am forever in their debt for giving us a second-round pick for Chase Claypool, who has not performed well in camp. And we turned that pick into Joey Porter Jr., who I think is going to be a very good corner in this league for a long time. But yeah, I think Chicago and Green Bay are on their, well, I don't know if you could say Green Bay's on their way up, but I think they're going to be in that middle of the road. And I think Chicago is on its way up. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be between Detroit and Minnesota. So
yeah, I'm excited to watch Detroit. Marvin Jones Jr., Amon St. Brown is really good. They got David Montgomery running the ball.
Marvin Jones Jr. is a man that until he retires, I will draft him in my fantasy leagues, because he's never been a guy that you see go off the board in the first 5 or 6 rounds. He usually drops down to like 8 to 12, but he is a guy that he just fucking scores fantasy points. No matter what team he has been on, if you're a fantasy football player and you see him on the waiver wire or late round pick that man, because he finds the end zone. He's good for 6 to 8 catches. The man has carried me more times than I could, comment on in fantasy football. And by the way, Bubba, the guy that's actually commenting on our Facebook, Jake, he's been on the show numerous times. He was my resident baseball expert before you came along.
There you go. I wouldn't say no expert.
And he's a, God bless him, diehard Cubs fan. So am I, but haven't had a whole lot to talk about with them. Although
not everybody's perfect, like you said.
Oh, you're a Cardinal fan? Is that what you're going to tell me?
Heck yeah, Redbirds all the way, buddy.
Jake, come back. Bubba, you're fired.
I got a mix of teams, man. I'm not a fan of any Illinois teams. I don't like Iowa either.
Wow.
The black and gold go away. I'm an Illini fan. That's about it. And
Which that's a painful existence.
it is. It really is. It hurts a lot. But um, I'm a Cardinals fan. I'm a Cowboys fan. And for hockey, I like the Vegas Knights ever since they came into the league in 2017.
Wow.
Didn't follow much hockey.
I'm excited for the Blackhawks again. We got, the new kid. We got the number one pick. He's supposed to be the next, Connor McDavid and Sid Crosby, and so I'm excited to see what he's going to do.
Yeah, Bedard he's a generational talent. He's just phenomenal. For him to do what he can do at such a young age and prove that he can play with the big boys. Yeah, Blackhawks they got lucky in the lottery. I'll put it that way, but they got a hell of a kid to play hockey.
Yeah, and we just lost Patrick Kane, and I think Taze if he's not gone, he's gonna be gone. Yep. But just going back to the baseball thing, I'm just glancing at the standings here, and I'm trying. Oh, there they are, all the way down there,
all the way at the bottom.
12 games back, man.
It's a terrible year, man. I'd like to say we're rebuilding.
Cubs have cooled off. They were on fire, I know.
18 in a row, 17, 18 in a row or something there for a while.
Something crazy like that. Now they're 3.5 back from Milwaukee, and they're only 6-4 in their last 10. So hopefully they can get that little bit of that fire back. And it's funny because way back before the season started, one of the last shows that I did before I took the break for the summer, Jake was actually here with me, and he told me that the Cubs were probably going to be a wild card team, and then they started fucking horribly. And I was looking at that like, oh, Jake got this one wrong, but here it is now, and it's looking like they might sneak in there.
It's not how you start; it's how you finish.
Absolutely, yeah. If they can get hot at the right time.
The Cardinals have been very good at that over the last decade or so. Even the last couple of decades, they have they play 500 baseball until the All-Star break. Then they have a little bit of a summer slump, and then it just seems, late August, early September, they just blow up, and that's been a Cardinals thing for quite a few years. I mean, there's been a year here and there where it was different, where they did really good or they did really bad, or they had a consistent season all through, but I don't see that happening this year. I think we're just going to take our licks and let everybody else have a chance in the spotlight for once. And
I can tell you what happened. I can tell you what happened to the Cardinals. What's fucking that? Benedict Arnold, Wilson fucking Contreras left the Cubs. He could have went to any other fucking team, but nope, he's got to go to St. Louis, and they got what they deserved.
And I'm starting to think he did it on purpose. I'm starting to think he went there and went to shit on purpose. Yeah, double agent. He's going to sign with the Cubs here in about 3 years and go back to where he belongs.
Well, if he performs the way he did with us, we'll welcome him back. Honestly, how is he done for you? Because I don't watch baseball until like late September.
Right. Well, he had a rough start. I mean, he's not doing terrible. I think he's a way better defenseman than he is offense. He does have a decent stick, but he was hurt there for a month or so. So we didn't really get our money's worth out of him this year, I don't think, in my opinion. But after having such good catchers that we've had over the last, with the exception of ever.
For most of my life, it seems like that St. Louis has had great catchers.
Oh yeah, I mean, we had
one of them, not from all time.
So he's very underwhelming. I wasn't excited about it anyway when we got him, but He was the best available, and we got the best available.
Right. Well, yeah, for sure. I mean,
So,
by everything that I've seen, it's like your pitching is what's failing you more than anything this year.
oh, 100%. And then we give away our two best pitchers and pick up. We got, I think we got 5 or 6 total pitchers out of that deal, and a couple infielders. So we got rid of two pitchers and a couple infielders, and we got 7 altogether, I think. So they're trying to do something. They got some good prospects. So we'll see. Like I said, we'll just hang our hat. Good job, guys, and we'll see you. We'll see you next year.
Yeah, here sometime soon, maybe before the playoffs, I'll have Jake because Jake's local. He actually drives by my house every day home from work. I'll have Jake in here, and I'll just sit back and let you two guys shoot the shit on baseball.
Oh boy!
Anything baseball related, I usually like. Jake's my guy. Like he's a true student of the game. We played softball together. I was technically on the roster for their team this year, but literally right as the season was started. I don't know if you remember when I had my heart issue. That was basically the beginning of softball season,
Right.
and I was like, you know what? Maybe last
Maybe
year
I
I
should
couldn't
just,
play because my
just
back
hang
was
out.
fucked. This year I couldn't play because I thought I had fucking congestive heart failure. So I don't know. Maybe we'll try it at age 49 and give her one more go. But last thing I wanted to talk about, and then we'll wrap this up until next time, was this Michael Oher stuff.
Right.
Has just come out. If you're not familiar with the Blind Side movie, was what 2003,
9.
4, 9? Was it that long? Or I guess he
Sorry,
came
no,
out of this.
he was drafted in 2009. When did the movie come
I
out?
was. Oh no, that's same line. God, it was before that. But so Michael Oher was basically his mom was a drug addict. His dad died when he was very young. He was, home to home, and this family, depending on which story you believe, this Tui family would occasionally take him in, and if you watch the movie, you would think that he
He
was the
lived
only place he stayed and
right,
all this. And then when it came time for him to sign with a college, they were both big Old Miss boosters. And according to the father, Sean Tui, he had to basically sign that he was their ward or whatever. And
right,
according to Oher, he thought he was signing adoption papers, but
right,
apparently the way that the law worked, whatever, was because he was 18, they couldn't legally adopt him. So basically, they signed conservatorship. And according to Oher, he didn't know that that's what it was. He thought he was being adopted because they didn't want the NCAA thinking that this was a booster thing.
right,
So now, fast forward uh, 15 years later, whatever it is, 14 years later, and now there's a lawsuit where he's trying to end that. And basically, I guess things got really nasty between them over the course of the last, 5 years or so.
right,
And when the movie first came out, he was very outspoken about it, about how he didn't like the way that he was portrayed because, like we talked about before we actually went live, they really portrayed him in a negative light in that they made him basically like with a mental handicap almost,
right.
like,
Yeah, he
you know
was.
what I'm saying? Like she's down there trying to just like the mom down there trying to teach him how to play football when in actuality he had played football for several years in the public system that they had down there. So it isn't like he was just completely stupid to the game of football. And I get it, artistic license and everything. They're trying to make a good story, and it made for a decent movie until
Yeah,
you heard the real story and like, oh, that's kind of shitty. I wanted a nice, heartwarming, like success story, but this guy had been playing football since he was like 12 years old. So, and it's a big shit show, and even the son SJ has come out and said that he's got text messages that show
that he
that
knew about it since
knew
2020.
what was up,
Right.
and the father has now come out and said, look, if he wants to end the thing, I'll end it right now. So at this point, I guess my question is what the hell are you guys going to
Yeah. What's
court
the
over?
holdup?
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I do wonder, because I agree with you. I think that the family, while they may have had some good intentions, I also, in the back of my mind, think that they saw dollar signs with this guy.
Absolutely.
And he never, like, he was a surefire, can't miss prospect at left tackle when he came out. And he was solid. He was, a very good offensive lineman,
He was.
but I wouldn't say that he was a Joe Thomas or, you know, Tony Baselli type. He wasn't a generational talent. He was a
No.
solid starting tackle for several years for Baltimore, and I can't remember where he played after that. But anyway, yeah. When I heard that story that the movie was basically bullshit, I felt kind of cheated.
Sure.
That's another thing that we'll do on this show a lot is I don't know how you are as far as movies or whatever, but a lot of times we'll do movie reviews and everything. I'm huge into the comic book genre. I was going to talk about The Flash, but I think we're kind of past when that was worth talking about. I enjoyed it. Video games. How are you? What are you with video games?
Not a whole lot. Movies and games and stuff and comics. I've never really was my thing. My wife gives me crap all the time for, oh, do you remember this person played in this movie? Or hey, do you remember you ever seen this one? And my answer is almost always no. I think I've seen 5 of the cult classics. I think I've seen 10 Disney movies, and I mean, I just don't watch movies. I'm more of a documentary guy or sports or
I do
uh,
get into a lot of the docs. Have you watched? We'll probably have to talk about this on the next one. But have you watched the Johnny Manziel one yet?
not yet.
All right. Well,
Nope.
it's on Netflix. It's called Untold, and
Okay.
that's your homework. I think it's like a 2-hour doc, and yeah, there is a lot to unpack there with the Johnny Manziel story. So, watch that over the course of the next few days, a week, whatever, and we'll talk about it. But we've been on
Absolutely.
here for an hour, talked a lot. Like I said, there is a lot more to come with this show on this channel. Uh, we'll be on as much as time will allow. And again, it may not always be me and Bubba. It might be Jake, might be Dylan, might be other guys. But um, I used to do like basically once a week. But with the YouTube thing now, I want to really turn this into something big. So we are gonna, even if it's just to jump on for 15 minutes to talk about the latest breaking story. That's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna make this thing blow up. So if you're watching this, give us a like, and most importantly of all, follow, subscribe, whatever. If you're watching on one of the Facebook platforms, I thank you for that. But I really would appreciate it if you would go to youtube.com/EldonzoDeez and subscribe to that channel. That would mean a lot to us, and we really hope that we can build this into something big. So, Bubba, thank you for joining me. I will talk to you very, very soon. You, the viewers/listeners, because I'll put this on Spotify as well. Thanks for checking us out. We will be back very, very soon. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.